Cold Star dropped out of faster than light travel and the planet filled like a bruised orange. Dan Cole stood at the back of the bridge and watched the world grow larger. He was 26 years old and it was his first real mission as a cultural liaison officer. His job was simple. Watch, listen, learn, and help the real diplomats avoid mistakes. He was not important. He knew that. Commander Lise Perry had made it clear when they left Earth. "We're here to take notes," she had said, nothing more. He had nodded and smiled and kept his mouth shut. That was what junior officers did. They stayed quiet and hoped nobody noticed them. Ben guided the Starward into orbit and opened a channel to the surface. The response came quickly. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking in clicks and growls that the translator turned into rough English. "As you come to our world, state your purpose or leave." Her Perry stepped forward. She was tall and confident and had negotiated with dozens of alien species. She spoke clearly and without fear. "Come in peace. We wish to discuss trade. Your world has minerals that Earth needs. We offer technology and medicine in exchange." It was silence for a long moment, then the voice returned. "To the surface, we will see if you are worthy of our time." Channel closed. Captain looked at Commander Perry with concern on his face. "That did not sound friendly," he said. Shrugged. "First contact is never friendly. They need to test us. It is normal." Was not so sure. He had spent the entire journey reading everything humanity knew about them. It was not much. Survey teams had observed them from orbit for years. They were warriors. Their entire society was built around combat and honor and strength. They fought each other constantly. The strong ruled. The weak served. There was no middle ground. Wanted to speak up. He wanted to say that maybe they should wait and learn more before going down there. But he was just a junior officer. Nobody would listen to him. Shuttle launched 30 minutes later. Danny sat in the back with his tablet, ready to take notes. Commander Perry sat at the front with two security officers named Greg and they carried sidearms, but Perry had ordered them to keep the weapons hidden. She did not want to appear threatening. Shuttle landed on a flat plain outside a massive stone fortress. They were already waiting. Dan looked through the window and felt his stomach drop. Huge, 7 feet tall at least, with bodies covered in bone plates and sharp ridges. Spines ran down their backs and along their arms. Their faces were hard and angular with deep-set eyes that seemed to glow with barely contained violence. Each one carried weapons, swords and axes and spears that looked primitive but deadly. The front of the group stood an old. His plates were cracked and from countless battles. His spines were chipped and worn, but he stood tall and proud and the others clearly deferred to him. "That must be Chief," Dan whispered to himself. Shuttle door opened and Commander Perry stepped out first. She walked forward with her hands open and visible, the universal sign of peace. Watch her approach. His expression did not change. When she stopped a few meters away, he spoke. "You are the leader of these humans." "Commander Lee Perry, I speak for Earth in the negotiation." Looked her up and down. He did not seem impressed. "You're small, weak. Where are your weapons?" "We did not bring weapons. We came to talk, not fight." Warriors behind shifted and muttered. Dan could not hear what they said, but he could guess. They were not happy. He raised one massive hand, and the muttering stopped. "My people, only the strong deserve respect. Only those who prove themselves in battle earn the right to speak as equals. You bring no weapons. You show no strength. Why should we listen to you?" And her Perry kept her composure. Danny admired that. He would have been terrified. "It takes many forms," she said. "On Earth, we have learned that the greatest strength is the mind. Our technology proves our power." Gestured to Greg, who pulled out a small device. He pressed a button and a holographic display appeared in the air. It showed human ships, human cities, human achievement. It was meant to impress. "We're not impressed," Sheen said with contempt. "You hide behind machine because you cannot fight. This is not strength. This is cowardice." Warriors behind him growled in agreement. Some raised their weapons. The situation was getting dangerous. Young pushed through the crowd. She was smaller than the others but moved with deadly grace. Her plates were smooth and dark and her eyes burned with intensity. She stopped in front of Commander Perry and stared down at her. She said, "I challenge you. Fight me and prove your worth, or admit you are nothing but prey." "Did not back down. We did not come here to fight. We came to negotiate." "You are cowards. Cowards do not deserve to speak. Cowards deserve only death." Drew her sword. The blade was curved and wickedly sharp. She held it like she knew exactly how to use it. Again reached for their hidden weapons, but Perry stopped them with a gesture. "We'll not fight you," she said firmly. "If that means we cannot negotiate, then we will leave. But we will not shed blood for the privilege of talking." Gnarled, she looked ready to attack anyway, but spoke and she froze. "Let them go. They are not worth killing. Pray that will not fight is beneath us." Warriors parted and made a path back to the shuttle. Commander Perry turned and walked away with dignity. Greg followed. Dane went last, his heart pounding in his chest. As he walked, he looked back at. She was watching him with those burning eyes. He could see frustration there, and something else, something that looked almost like disappointment. Shuttle door closed and they lifted off. Nobody spoke until they were back on the Starward. Well, Commander Perry said finally, "That could have gone better." "What do we do now?" Captain asked. "Do not know. They will not listen unless we fight, and we cannot fight. The mission may be over before it started." He sat in the corner with his tablet. He was supposed to be taking notes, but instead he was thinking. There had to be another way. They were not mindless brutes. They had a culture. They had rules. Rules could be understood, and rules could be used. Started searching through every piece of data they had on them. Somewhere in there was an answer. He was sure of it. He just had to find it. Did not sleep that night. He sat in his small cabin with data files spread across every screen. He read reports from survey teams. He studied images and recordings. He learned everything he could about thee and their ways. If it confirmed what they already knew, the value strength above all else, combat deterrent status, the strongest warrior led, the weak obeyed or died. It was brutal but simple. There was something else, something buried in the old survey data that nobody had paid attention to. 2 ways to gain power. The first was combat. Everyone knew that. The second was something called the marking of worth. Dane read the passage 3 times to make sure he understood it. A leader could transfer authority through physical touch. If a chief touched a warrior in a certain way, that warrior became bound to them. The touched warrior owed absolute loyalty. Their strength became the chief's strength. Their victories became the chief's victories. There was a catch. The touch had to be on the head, and no one would ever touch another's head willingly. Look at the images of the anatomy. Their heads were protected by thick plates, but their necks had gaps between the armor, vulnerable spots. To touch his head, you would have to get close to those gaps, close enough to kill. Or to let someone touch their head meant complete trust, or complete surrender. Sat back and thought of this. The handshake equivalent was probably a weapon clash. test of strength that showed neither party was weak. When Commander Perry had offered open hands, they had seen submission. When she showed technology, they had seen hiding. Everything humans did naturally was wrong in culture. What if a human did something no one would ever do? What if a human touched a warrior's head without fighting first? What would that mean to them? Did not know, he could not know without asking, but he had a theory. He found Commander Perry in the command center the next morning. She looked tired. She had probably spent the night trying to figure out their next move. Commander, he said, I think I found something. He looked at him without much hope. What is it? Explained what he had learned. The marking of worth, the significance of touching the head, the cultural meaning behind every gesture they had made wrong. We listened. Her expression shifted from skepticism to interest to something approaching respect. You think the matter? She asked. I think we approached them completely wrong. Every signal we sent told them we were weak prey. But if we can show them a different kind of strength, something they have never seen before, maybe we can change how they see us. What kind of strength? He hesitated. This was the part he was not sure about. Endurance. Humans are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest, but we can take punishment that would kill most creatures. We evolved as persistent hunter. We chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We survive wounds that should have been fatal. That is our strength. Cross her arms, and how do we show them that? One has to take a beating without fighting back. Someone has to prove that humans cannot be broken by violence. The room went quiet. Greg and exchanged looks. Captain shook his head slowly. We're talking about letting them attack one of us, Perry said. Yes, that is insane. Not maybe, but it might be the only way. It was quiet for a long moment, then she sighed. If I agreed to this, who would do it? I cannot order anyone to take a beating from those creatures. I will do it. Everyone stared at him. Danny felt his heart racing, but he kept his voice steady. The smallest and weakest person on this ship. If I can survive their attacks, it will prove something. And I am expendable. If this fails, you have not lost anyone important. Looked at him with new eyes. You are not expendable, she said softly. Nobody on my team is expendable. She did not say no. Shuttle returned to the surface 2 hours later, but were waiting again. Chief stood at the front with beside him. Their expression made it clear they had not expected the humans to return. And Perry stepped out first just like before, but this time Dane walked beside her. You come back, said, why? Come to prove ourselves, Perry replied. One of us will accept your challenge. Warrior stirred within her, stepped forward, her eyes bright. Which one? Stepped past Commander Perry before she could answer. Me. I looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. He was small even by human standards, thin, soft. He had no weapons, no armor, no visible strength at all. He laughed. It was not a kind sound. This is your champion, this little thing. I'm not a champion, Dan said. I'm just a human, and I will not fight you. Laughter died, her eyes narrowed. Then why are you here? Show you something you have never seen. Spread his arms wide, leaving himself completely open. Hit me? Now move, she looked confused. Hit you? It's as hard as you want, as many times as you want. I will not fight back. I will not fall. And when you are done, you will know what humans really are. Warriors muttered to each other that it was strange, that it was wrong. Prey did not ask to be struck. Warriors did not refuse to fight. Nothing about them made sense. That the old chief expression was unreadable. Do what he said? Back to Danny. Her confusion was turning to anger. She did not like being mocked. She did not like things she could not understand. And she growled, you want pain, I will give you pain. She hit him. Blow caught Danny in the chest and threw him backward. He landed hard on the rocky ground. Pain exploded through his body. He could not breathe. His vision went white. But he got up. Watched him rise. Her eyes widened slightly. Hit him again and again and again. Took every blow. He fell. He bled. He gasped for air. But every time he went down, he got back up. He did not raise his hands to defend himself. He did not try to run. He just stood there and took it. Silent, they had never seen anything like this. Prey ran, Prey screamed, Prey died. This human did none of those things. Breathing hard now. Her fists were covered in Danny's blood. She had hit him at least 20 times. Any would have been broken by now. Any creature they knew would have been dead. But Danny was still standing. His face was swollen. His ribs were cracked. Blood ran down from cuts on his forehead, but his eyes were clear and steady. He looked at. Is that all you have? He said. Frozen. Her chest heaved with each breath. Her arms hung at her sides. She had given this small human everything he had, and he was still standing, still looking at her with those strange soft eyes. What are you? She whispered. He swayed on his feet. The pain was incredible. Every part of his body screamed at him to fall down and stay down, but he locked his knees and kept standing. I'm human, he said, and humans do not break. Warriors were completely silent. Ian Chief had lost his look of cold indifference. He was staring at Danny with something that might have been curiosity or respect. He raised her fist again, but she did not swing. She could not understand what was happening. Her entire life had been built on one simple truth. The strong dominated the weak submitted or died. There was no other way. This human was not strong. He was tiny and soft and fragile. She had broken his bones. She had torn his skin. He should be dead, yet he stood there like pain meant nothing to him. She demanded, why do you not fight? Why do you not run? Why do you just stand there and let me hurt you? He coughed. Blood flecked his lips. Speaking was hard, but he forced the words out. His fighting would prove nothing. Running would prove nothing. I came here to show you that strength is not just about hitting harder than your enemy. Sometimes strength means taking the hit and refusing to fall. That makes no sense. He almost smiled. I know, your people have never thought about it that way. You see combat as the only measure of worth, but there are other kinds of strength. The strength to endure, the strength to survive, the strength to keep going when everything tells you to stop. Her head, she did not want to hear this. It challenged everything she believed. Weak, she said, but there was no conviction in her voice anymore. Dan agreed, by your standards I am weak, but I am still standing, so what does that make me? He had no answer. And her, the other warriors were shifting uncomfortably. They did not know how to process what they were seeing. Their worldview had no room for this. A weak creature should not be able to take punishment meant for the strongest warriors. It violated the natural order. He stepped forward. The crowd parted to let him through. He stopped in front of Danny and looked down at the battered human with ancient eyes. You have surprised me, he said. I did not think your kind had any strength at all. I was wrong. He met his gaze without flinching. We are not what we appear to be. None of us are. He was quiet for a moment, then he turned to. Finish it? Looked at him. Finish it. What do you mean? Challenged him, he said. The challenge must end with submission or death. He will not submit, so you must kill him. Felt cold fear wash through him. He had not expected this. He had hoped his display would be enough, but he had underestimated how strict their traditions were. Her sword, the curved blade gleamed in the harsh sunlight. She raised it high, preparing to bring it down on Danny's neck. Should have been terrified, part of him was, but a larger part was strangely calm. He had done everything he could. He had shown them what humans were made of. If he died here, at least he died proved something. Looked up at, she was hesitating. The blade trembled in her grip. He saw it then, the conflict in her eyes. She did not want to kill him. Something had changed inside her. Watching him take her punishment without breaking had shifted something fundamental in how she saw him. At that moment, Danny made a decision. A crazy, impossible decision that would either save everything or destroy everything. He stepped forward. Eyes wide, she did not move. She was too shocked by his advance to react. Reach up. His broken body screamed in protest, but he forced his arm to rise. He reached toward her head, toward those armored plates and the vulnerable gaps in her neck. It seemed to slow. Every in the crowd held their breath. They knew what was happening. They knew what it meant, but they could not believe it. Placed his hand on top of his head, gently, softly, like a parent comforting a child. He patted her head. Sword fell from his hand. It clattered against the stone ground, and the sound echoed across the silent plain. Every weapon in the crowd fell. Swords and axes and spears dropped from suddenly loose finger. The warriors stood frozen, their arms hanging limp at their sides. Stared at Danny with an expression of pure shock. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Her parry rushed forward, thinking Danny had been hurt worse than before, but she stopped when she saw them. They were not attacking. They were not moving at all. They just stood there like statues, staring at the small human with his hand on their warrior's head. And she said carefully, "What did you do?" He did not take his hand off his head. He was afraid of what would happen if he did. "Touch her head," he said quietly. "In their culture that means I have claimed her. She belongs to me now." "What?" "Read about it in the survey data. When a leader touches a warrior's head, that warrior becomes bound to them. Their strength becomes the leader's strength. All of their subordinates become the leader's subordinates too." He looked at the frozen crowd. "All of them? From a major clan. They are all her kin or her vassals. By claiming her, I claimed them all." When he found his voice, he stepped forward, fury building in his eyes. "Dare," he growled. "You dare to perform the marking of worth. You are not a chief. You are not even a warrior. You have no right." Finally lowered his hand, remained motionless, her eyes fixed on something only she could see. "Right," Dan said. "I am not a warrior. I want no combat. I hold no rank among your people. And your claim is false. It means nothing." "Does it?" Looked around at the dropped weapons, at the frozen warriors, at its empty hand where her sword should have been. Her own people seemed to think it meant something. His mouth to argue, but stopped. He looked at his warriors. They were not picking up their weapons. They were not attacking the human who had committed this ultimate act of presumption. They just stood there, caught between their traditions and the impossible thing they had just witnessed. In all of history, no one had ever touched a warrior's head without fighting first. The very idea was unthinkable. It showed either supreme arrogance or supreme confidence. It meant the one doing the touching believed they were so far above the warrior that combat was unnecessary. He had done the impossible, and now no one knew what came next. Silence stretched on. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a blade. Then chaos erupted. A warrior from the back of the crowd roared in fury and charged at Danny. He did not make it 3 steps before other warriors tackled him to the ground. More shouting broke out. Some demanded Danny's death for his insult. Others argued that he had followed their laws, twisted as his interpretation might be. The crowd began to split in faction. He raised his massive arm and bellowed a single word in his native tongue. The translator could not process it, but the meaning was clear. Silence. Fighting stopped. All eyes turned to the chief. Walked slow toward Danny. Each step was deliberate and heavy. He stopped close enough that Danny could see every scar on his ancient face. "Explain yourself," demand. "You know our ways well enough to invoke the marking. You must know that false claims carry the penalty of death. Why did you do this?" He met the chief gaze. His body was broken and exhausted, but his mind was clear. "Did not make a false claim," he said. "A claim, that is true, but I do not want to own her." Eyes narrowed, then would claim her at all. "Show you something?" Turned to look at, she still had not moved. Her eyes were distant and confused. Her entire understanding of reality had been shattered in a single moment. And so to her directly. "My world, touching someone's head is not about dominance. It is about affection, about care. When we touch a child's head, we are telling them they are safe. When we touch a friend's head, we are showing them love. The gesture means protection, not ownership." I slowly focused on him. "It's your head because you hesitated," Dan continued. "You had every chance to kill me, but you stopped. Something inside you did not want to do it. I wanted to show you that your instinct was right. Violence does not have to be the answer to everything." Step between them. "Words," he said, "but words do not change our laws. You have claimed her. Our traditions, she's bound to you until you release her or until one of you dies. There is no other way." And nodded slowly. "Then I release her." Crowd gasped and looked stunned. "Release her," he repeated. "Yes, I claimed her to prove a point, not to own a slave. I do not want dominion over anyone. I want partnership, friendship, equals working together." He turned back too. "You are free," he said simply. Nothing happened. Did not move. She did not speak. She just stood there staring at him with those burning eyes. Felt a chill run down his spine. Had he made a mistake? Was there something he did not understand about the ritual? And a laugh? It was a harsh sound full of bitter amusement. "Truly do not understand," he said. "You cannot simply release her. The marking of worth does not work that way. Once a warrior is claimed, they are changed forever. They belong to their claimer until death. There is no release." And his heart sank. "What do you mean?" "You touched her head, you did more than stake a claim. You transferred part of yourself into her. Your essence, your authority. She carries it now. It cannot be taken back." Looked at helplessly. She met his gaze, and for the first time since the touch, she spoke. "It's right," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I feel it inside me. Connection, a bond. You are part of me now, and I am part of you." "Did not know," Danny said. "I swear I did not know it would do that." "Does not matter. What is done is done." Took a step toward him, then another. The warriors around them tensed but did not interfere. Up in front of Danny, she was so much taller than him. She could have crushed him with one hand, but she knelt instead. She lowered herself until they were at the same level. "Gave me something I have never felt before," she said. "When your hand touched my head, I felt peace. For one moment I was not a warrior. I was not a weapon. I was just a person being told that I mattered. Did not know what to say. He had not expected any of this. Fought my entire life, continued. I have killed more enemies than I can count. I have earned glory and honor and respect, but no one has ever touched me with kindness. No one has ever looked at me and seen anything other than a blade to be used. Reached out and took his hand. Her grip was gentle despite her strength. See me differently. Through the bond I can feel it. You see me as a person. You see my worth not in my kills but in my soul. The exchange with growing unease. He said sharply, remember your duty, remember who you are. She looked up at him. Remember, she said, I remember everything, and I choose this. Stood still holding Dan's hand. Our laws I belong to this human. That means my strength is his strength. My warriors are his warriors. My authority is his authority. He turned to face the crowd. By our laws, when a warrior of my status is claimed by one who shows supreme confidence without combat, something new is created, something that has never existed before. She looked at directly. Chief, who did not rise for blood. Crowd erupted again, but this time it was different. There was fear in the noise, and wonder, and the beginnings of something that might have been hope. They were tired. Generations of endless warfare had worn them down. They fought because fighting was all they knew, but deep inside, many of them wondered if there was another way. The way stood before them in the form of a small broken human who had touched their fiercest warrior's head and somehow changed everything. Face was unreadable. He looked at Danny, then at the rest of the crowd. It's not over, he said quietly. This changes nothing until the council decides. Turned and walked away. The warriors parted to let him through and then slowly began to follow. And the humans remained on the plane. Manner approached carefully, and he said, what just happened? And looked at his hand, still held in his grip. I think, he said slowly, I might have just started a revolution. Days passed. Dane spent most of that time in the metal bay of the Starboard, letting the doctors repair his broken body. They had done serious damage. 2 cracked ribs, a fractured cheekbone, internal bruising that would take weeks to fully heal. But he was alive, and that was more than anyone had expected. Perry visited him every few hours to share updates. The council was meeting. Arguments were raging through their fortress. Some wanted Danny executed for his presumption. Others wanted to study him, to understand how such a weak creature could do what he had done. And a growing number wanted something else entirely. I want to talk to you, Perry told him on the 3rd day, has agreed to a formal meeting, just you and him. He sat up slowly, his ribs protested, but he ignored them. When? Now, if you're ready. Was not ready. He was terrified and confused and had no idea what he was doing, but he nodded anyway. Shuttle took him back to the surface. This time there were no warriors waiting with weapons. There was only standing alone in front of the fort's gates. Walked toward him without escort. Perry had wanted to send guards, but Danny refused. This was something he had to do himself. Watched him approach. The old chief's expression was different now. The contempt was gone. In its place was something more complicated. Should not be walking, said. Your injuries were severe. Avid worse. Was alive but seemed to appreciate it. Chief turned and walked into the fortress. Danny followed. They passed through stone corridors and up winding stairs until they reached a room at the top of a tower. The walls were covered with weapons, trophies from centuries of conquest. Stood for Danny to sit. There were no chairs, so Danny lowered himself to the floor with his back against the wall, remained standing. You know why I agreed to see you alone? Asked. No. Because I want to understand. I have led my people for 6 years. I have fought in more battles than you have lived days. I have seen warriors rise and fall. I have seen empires crumble, but I have never seen anything like you. You began a base? Weak? That is not an insult. It is simply true. By any measure that matters to my people, you are the weakest creature I have ever met. And did not argue. Yet you broke, continued. Not with strength, not with cunning, not with any way my people would recognize. You broke her with kindness. Stopped paying and looked directly at Danny. Oh, and thought carefully before answering. Did not break her. I showed her something she had never considered. Another way to live. Another definition of strength. There is only one definition of strength, power over others. Dan shook his head. That is what you believe because it is all you have ever known. But my people learned a different lesson. We learned that the greatest strength is lifting others up instead of pushing them down, building instead of destroying, healing instead of hurting. Silent for a long moment. People conquer their world, he said finally. Your technology dominates entire star systems. You have power that my people cannot match, and you expect me to believe you achieved this through kindness. Achieved it through cooperation, working together instead of fighting each other. When humans stopped treating strength as a competition and started treating it as a shared resource, we became unstoppable. To look out the window, from here Dane could see the entire settlement. Warriors trained in the courtyards below. Smoke rose from forges where weapons were made. Everything was focused on war. People are dying, said quietly. We do not breed fast enough to replace those lost in battle. Our technology has not advanced in generations because we kill anyone smart enough to threaten us. We are destroying ourselves, and I do not know how to stop it. Felt a surge of sympathy for the old chief. He had expected a monster. Instead, he found a tired leader trapped by traditions he could not change. Let me help, Danny said. Turned it. What can you do? I can show your people what I showed. Another way, a different kind of strength. And in exchange, I think we will still negotiate for the minerals. That is separate. But I will stay here and teach anyone who wants to learn. No cost, no obligation. Stayed him for a long time. The same thing, he said finally. She has been speaking to the council, telling them what she felt when you touched her head. Many of them are confused, but some are curious. Let us try. What is the worst that could happen? Laughed. It was a tired sound, but genuine. Worst that could happen is my entire civilization collapses, and my people fade in extinction. Is that worse than what is already happening? The chief had no answer for that. A formal ceremony took place 1 week later. The entire population gathered in the great arena where warriors usually fought to the death. But today, there would be no fighting. Stood at the center of the arena. Beside him stood, and beside her stood Danny. People announced, I have led you for 6 years. I have tried to make us strong, but strength alone is not enough. We need something more. We need to learn from those who see the universe differently. He gestured do. This warrior was touched by this human. By our laws, she belongs to him, but he released her. He asked for nothing in return. He offered her freedom and respect and kindness. Crowd murmured. Many still did not understand. Old continued, too old to learn new ways, but is young. She has felt what this human offers, and so I name her my successor. Murmuring grew louder. This was unprecedented. Chief did not simply name successors. Excels were determined through combat. Raised his hand and the crowd fell silent. Not rise through blood, she rose through something else, something we have no word for, but I believe it is what our people need to survive. He stepped back and stepped forward. Do not know what I am doing, she admitted to the crowd. I only know what I felt. When this human touched my head, I felt valued. Not as a weapon, not as a tool, as a person. She looked at Danny. I want our people to feel that too. I want us to build something instead of just destroying everything around us. I want us to live, not just survive. Held out her hand to Danny. He took it. This human has agreed to stay with us, to teach us, to help us find a new path. I ask you to give him a chance. Give us all a chance. The crowd was silent. Then slowly one warrior knelt, then another, then dozens, then hundreds. Not all of them. Some remained standing with anger in their eyes. Change would not come easily. There would be resistance and conflict and setbacks. But it was a start. And her Perry watched from the edge of the arena. Captain stood beside her. Said, I get the mission was a success. She shook her head in amazement. Cole, junior culture liaison, no combat training, no spell skills, and he just reformed an entire civilization. Patting someone on the head. Patting someone on the head. Or as the star prepared to leave orbit, came to say goodbye. She found Danny standing at the observation deck, looking down at her world. You are leaving, he said. For now, but I will be back. I promise to help. How did she hesitate, then spoke quietly. Wanted to thank you for everything. You do not have to thank me. I just did what felt right. It was an expression her face had rarely made before. That is exactly why I'm thanking you. Bowed her head toward him, an invitation. Reached out and patted her head one more time, gently, softly, with all the kindness he could offer. Closed her eyes and smiled. Below them, a new world was being born. It would take years, maybe generations, but they would learn what humans already knew. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is be gentle.